top and obviously go down to the bottom, take it nice and easy, freeze it because I can't leave it up for too long, and it'll tell you exactly what you want to know. These documents will be available to people down the track a little bit if they want them. Just make a contribution to the Common Law Court.
Let's turn our attention now to the energy debate, specifically that, of course, of the cost of energy and in the state of New South Wales. Now, as you know, New South Wales, one of the leading states which has moved from the system that works to the one that, fingers crossed, might in a couple of decades' time, all of which has an impact on power bills. But, you know, we're not allowed to talk about that. When the Prime Minister's asked about it, it's a giggle. We also know that state governments that have either privatised or have some sort of control left over their system have sat by and have loved watching coal-fired power stations get blown up. Why? Because they were 50 years old and bugger repairing them, don't find a new way to keep them going. No, because they are evil, they must fall. Because it must be replaced by the technology that takes up way more space but is way better for the environment, asterisk, made by slave labour sometimes in China. Who knows what happens when it comes to landfill, but these are all small, minor points. Well done to the Australian newspaper today, because this is a fantastic story. Secret New South Wales power reports kept from the public. Bear with me, but this is how it works in New South Wales. At least 10 reports, studies and presentations focused on the electricity market impact of the Minns government's emissions reduction policies and renewable energy targets between June last year, July this year, have been conducted. Although public access to 10 documents, all 10 reports, under Freedom of Information laws has been refused. See the playbook? Exactly like in the federal parliament. Thanks for applying to know what's going on, but we're not going to tell you. This is the law they want to make even tougher to get information out of Canberra. Well, an example of it is already playing out in New South Wales. The reaction to this decision comes from the Centre for Independent Studies. Again, we read from the Australian today. Centre for Independent Studies energy analyst criticised the decision not to release the documents, telling the Australian they were all but certain to confirm that the government's policies would make electricity more expensive. Now, all I have argued for 15 years is about the cost of transition. How much to build it, who pays? But you're not allowed to know that, are you? The quote from Aidan Morrison, my apologies. This is, I think, part of a concerted effort across multiple layers of government to make sure that there isn't any concrete or authoritative proof of what everyone actually knows to be true, which is the renewables are going to push prices up. Oh, my goodness, how can you say that? Well, prove me wrong, release the documents. As for the government, when talking about all of this, what was the fig leaf under which they hid behind to not show you 10 different reports in one financial year about decisions made at State Parliament House in Sydney and consequences turning up in your letterbox or in your email, depending on how you get your bill, every quarter? One last bit in this article. New South Wales Department of Climate Change, Energy and Environment, as well as Water, knocked back to the release of 9 of the 10 documents on the grounds they contained cabinet information, which is exempt from the disclosure under the Freedom of Information laws. And what is it again that they're planning to do in Canberra? What would be the one thing that would guarantee that if you were asking for information about what Albo and any of his ministers were up to, that would be an automatic, sorry, computer says no. It would be if those documents have gone anywhere near the cabinet table, either in preparation for the ministers or was information that was relevant to decisions being made in the cabinet. Exactly what was used as the excuse to deny 10 reports about whether the decisions of the New South Wales government have led to an increase in power prices. You don't get to see it because, no, you can't be trusted. You are but just a little mushroom, my friend. And even then, the Prime Minister is trying to change the subject when it comes to power prices. Remember, they don't matter anymore, especially when your house is being paid for by the taxpayer.
Prime Minister, you say this will put downward pressure on energy prices. By what exact figure?
You yourself laughed when you asked that question, so it should be treated in the spirit in which you've done. What we know is, if we don't act, there will be a cost to the economy, as the Treasurer has outlined.